isn't there some of I look at this as like people can't have conversations now. It's either you agree with me or you don't, and you can't get to that figure out where you can learn more from that. And so I feel like there's a lot of that hasn't happened recently, and it's just like, oh, like there's that missing. It's just like, so if I don't know this thing and I say this thing in a non like derogatory kind of way at all, and I genuinely didn't know that makes me a terrible person. And it's like you gotta, like, I can't know everything, you can't know everything, like let's peel back the onion, right? I remember specifically, I'll tell you a story where this happened to me, and my good friend Tiffany Rozier is the one who explained it to me. So about 5 years ago, Gap came out with a shirt, and there was a young black child that was wearing a monkey on his shirt. I had never heard that was bad, or where that came from, something like that. There was a big uproar. Gap had to drop the line, and there's the big story behind it. No one ever taught me that. I never knew anything about that. I asked my friend who is black, and I said, Tiffany, explain to me where this is from, because I don't get it. She explained it to me, and I said, okay, well, now I understand why this was bad. I don't like, to me, it's like, okay, do the due diligence on your own to learn from that, so you don't make that same mistake again, or do something like that again. But there should be some sort of give and take for a situation like I just went through with that. And it's like, hey, like I genuinely didn't, I just didn't know. No one taught me that. Like, you know, like, and I don't know that you are taught something like that, but there's going to be situations like that, right? And I don't know. I mean, you teach DEI. Like, is that something that how could I have done that differently in my situation, just by hearing, you know, that quick little story?
I don't know if you needed to do anything differently. I mean, I think the way that you did it was the way that you did it, and you just learn from it. I don't think it's a right or wrong anywhere in
Sure.
that. Now, I'm not in your relationship with, what's her name, Tiffany?
Mm-hmm.
There is some space, but see, everybody is different, and I don't want to be general. I just want for everybody who's listening, chew up the meat, spit out the bones. This is just my perspective. Gauge it upon your other stuff you
Sure.
got going on and consider it. But some relationships, like was in a relationship with a white friend that is, when the George Floyd everything was going on, she was coming to me as the subject expert, and I felt like that there was an undue pressure on me to answer your questions and give you a response in which makes you feel comfortable, because you're putting more responsibility on me, and you're not even acknowledging I'm dealing with the trauma. Like, you are trying for me to explain to you how, let's say in essence, your great grandparents should be absolved of this space, when I'm trying to deal with my great grandparents.
Mm.
They was the ones on the receiving end of the abuse. We all traumatized. And so, like, in that relationship, it got really hard, because like, you won't read your own book, you won't do your own audio book, you won't just, instead of recognizing, wow, if this is a trending topic, somebody's feelings is hurt. It's more like their feelings shouldn't be hurt. Okay. But let's acknowledge that somebody is hurt by this, and you want me to convince you why it should be a relevant trending topic. You're not, I'm bleeding out. I grew up in the same time as you did. Like, I'm processing through right now for elementary school, and I'm from Hampton, Virginia. We would go to, for our field trips every year, the annual field trip, we were going to the Williamsburg plantation, where the people that work there are dressed as slaves. And the Williamsburg plantation is a nice resort to show what, when you do well in life, this is where you can be. This is could be your dream. You too can live like this in the summers. And I'm looking like, dang, that could be like my auntie. So it's just like,
Mm.
we are all traumatized, and it's none of our fault. But I think what our white brothers and sisters can do in times like this is just recognize that we did get the short end of the stick. Can we just start there? Can we just acknowledge black people got the short end of the stick? And if you
Well,
love the black people in your life, just embrace what they're going through, because we all, the lights are coming on at the same time. We don't know,
yeah.
and just don't worry about it.
Well, and the thing that, I mean, to Zach's point about everything is so polarized in the sense of it's either you agree with me or you don't. And if you don't, then we're against one another. And if we're with, then there's just that confirmation bias that goes on. And the thing that I love so much about what it is that you're doing is that it's challenge me in a way to think differently in a non-threatening way.
Yeah.
And that's because one of the things I want to forever be curious and I want to forever learn. And as soon as you stop learning, that's when you start dying. And so I really, really appreciate what you do in the way that you do it. And it is so needed. And I wish that everybody that is listening, watching, or whatever, reach out to you, because I mean, there's so much everybody has to learn, because you just said it yourself, in the sense of you're going through a healing period and you need time to heal, just as then all of a sudden right away, everyone's going through a time where I need to learn. And it's just like, we got to work together here. And man, I mean, so that was, wow, what a takeaway that is. I appreciate you sharing that.
No problem. I think too, like so here's something that I really try to leave people with that's a tangible, I don't want to just be like this, ooh, I got feelings. Let's talking some tangible tips or tools. For me, what helps me is when I'm about to go into a conversation or a situation where I understand that this is uncomfortable or could be comfortable, I try to state the intention of the conversation up front. That absolves a lot of unnecessary anxiety, fear. When I'm going into a situation, I'm like, I really want to get some understanding from this, because I feel uncomfortable every time I see it. Like, if I'm really honest up front, then it just lets the person on the other side know, okay, her line of questions is because she's trying to understand. And it just, to me, helps the other person have some, I don't want to, warfare, but that might be kind of too.
Yeah, you're not going in there
flowery, but
you're going in there trying to learn about the situation instead of seeming aggressive and defensive on something. I think there's a situation like that too that Gary Plague has explained it to us, and you might know Gary from Start Peninsula. But when you're trying to give feedback to someone from their pitch, before he would give any kind of feedback, he would say, would you like me to give you some feedback or something like that? And because they say yes or no, it opens the door so the person knows that, right? And so there's a parallel there where it's like, hey, instead of just going at me, because that might be how I take it, explain the intentions beforehand, or ask for permission beforehand, and that opens the door that allows a situation like that to not have some of the potential negativities behind it, that all you had to do is communicate a little bit beforehand. Anything else on that we should chat about before I go into something else?
No, I mean, y'all drive, because you see, I can talk.
Well, I mean, this whole thing is just, I mean, it's super fascinating is not the right word, but it is just so important. And I mean, I don't know, we can talk about this for such a long time, just in the sense of like questions that I have in terms of, again, going back to you're either with us or you're not kind of thing, and us being the polarizing sides of social media where everyone is so confident behind the keyboard.
What's interesting about that is, so I learned this from Marcus Jones, who used to be the city manager of the city of Norfolk. And so here's the guy who manages 252,000 people. He came to me one day, and he has been a great advocate for a lot of the things that I've done. Tim, have you ever met him?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. He said something to me, and it was mind blowing. He's like, Zach, I'm going to tell you a story about trucks. He goes, I have to make a decision on trucks in the city of Norfolk based on 10 people, because those are the 10 people that are being loud about a situation. 5 over here, 5 over here. And the people in between aren't saying a thing. So I have to sit there and figure out what's the real makeup of what's going on in the situation, because of loud people on both sides, when that isn't necessarily how the people in the middle, whatever that, correct terminology is. And I was like, that's really interesting. He goes, yeah, some people want the trucks to come at this point. Some people want the trucks to come at that point. And they're the only people who are saying anything. There's 51,992 other people that are in this city that I manage that aren't saying a thing. How am I supposed to make this decision? And so it's interesting, and I'm trying to make the parallel between those two things here, but it's just interesting how there's a lot of people who talk on both sides, but the middle is where the truth is a lot of times, and you don't actually get to see that because people, for whatever reason, don't.
Yeah. I mean, just for me, I mean, I'll make myself really vulnerable right now in the sense of there's been a really big increase in the viewpoint that by being silent, you are not part of the movement. You know, whether if it's Black Lives Matter or whatever the case is. So Allison, what do you tell business leaders, C-level people, in the sense of, you know, when there is an increasing expectation that being silent is no longer, you know, acceptable anymore? You know, what do you tell folks? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I would love to hear your take.
I still encourage people to be who they really are. And I just encourage people to be honest about it. Like, ask yourself why you're silent. Are you silent because you just don't know? Because if you just don't know, it's so much information out here. You can get consultants, you can get support to help you make good decisions. How do you want to come across? If you're silent because you don't want to touch it, then that is what it is. I don't recommend you start touching something you don't want to do, because you're going to always do everything reluctantly, half-buttedly, and it's going to come across. And then that's going to be worse later when, because you weren't really passionate about it, you didn't put the right resources to it. And so you made a mistake that people are chewing you up for being a fraud, right? Like pretending that you care about something when you really don't. And so it's just like, you know, just be honest with who you are and do right and do your best in the places that you feel passionate about. And it is what it is. I mean, I think that people say, even if I have the exact opposite opinion as you, I respect the fact that you got an opinion and I know what it is. So I can move accordingly. You can move accordingly, and we good.
Yeah, and like one thing that I mean, again, I'll make myself super vulnerable right now in the sense of, like, with this show. I mean, there's been feedback that is like, oh, you got Tim and Zach on this show, two white dudes. You know, where's the diversity there? You know, and so if you look at what our audience is, we have, the different guests that we've had on the show, it's been extremely diverse. So do we have to come out and publicly say that we have the most diverse slate of guests of anywhere else? Or, you know, do we just let anyone that looks to see who the previous guests are, make them just they can witness that and come to that conclusion on their own? I don't know what the answer is, but to me personally, I feel like I let my actions do the talking for me, and it feels really fake for me to say, hey, you know what? 60% of the people, and I don't know what these numbers are, but 60% of the people are female, and 70% of the people that we have on the show are people of color. I don't know what it is, but I don't think that that's really authentic to come out and have to say that just because.
Seems like they're marketing towards that thing as that instead of being genuine.
I prefer to be really, really authentic.
So I remember, like, it's, what is it, late December of 2021. We started the show in late March of 20. I remember when we decided to do like episode 3, I said to Tim, I said, we have to make sure that we have a cornucopia of guests all over the place. And from industries, from gender, from race, from everything possible, from age, everything. And so, you know, you can't have every guest on every week, right? There's only one person on the show. So, I mean, it's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is important. But in terms, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious of what your take is. I mean, is that something that we have to, from a DEI standpoint, is that something that we have to broadcast? I mean, and the thing is that we didn't go out and try to do this. We went out and we're like, hey, these are the people that we run in the same circles with, the people that we work with, that we respect, that we want to help share their story. And it just turns out it has been really, really diverse because I think that Zack and I are really diverse people, so I mean, is that something that has to be advertised, or do we just continue to do what we do?
You said the word respect, and I really respect this conversation that we're having right now, and you guys. And I'm like a super emo and vulnerable person anyway, like I'm the type of person that I just meet the mailman and I'm like, we not in love. You don't love me. But we shared a moment. I thought no? Okay. So respect, shout out to you. I think that again, there's no wrong or right answer to that. I think that you should just do what it is that you want to do and sit in it. I am just always the type of person that just encourages, like, think through what you're thinking about. Really ask yourself why that made you feel away. Like, feel away is a real thing for me. If I feel like a ping, just how I respond, or it makes me aggy, then I'm gonna be honest with myself. Like, why does this make me aggy? If you feel like, listen, I'm doing the work, I'm showing in my actions that I'm diversifying my content and that I welcome the minority community. If you feel like that your actions are enough and it's irritating you to somebody, like nagging you, like you should, but you need to, make a march about it. You need to put a poster on your, whatever. Then don't do it. Don't lean into it if it aggravates you. You might be the type of person that anything anybody try to tell you to do when you know that you put in work is aggravating to you. That might be a thing. So that's consistent across your character. Now, if you promote everything else, if you don't have no problem with promoting, sports and animals is a huge thing for a lot of people, because it's like, hey, you could talk, you share your pride, your love, your whatever, everything else in that, because somebody like, yo, why you don't do the Blackout Tuesdays once a year? Nobody needs to force me to do. It's just like, okay, why did that really make you mad? Let's talk about it, friend. And so, that's my thing. You just got to go with, what you go with, because what's in your heart, just ask yourself, why is it there? Make the decision to say, well, it is what it is. It happened to me when I'm 7, and that's just how I'm gonna be. Or, wow, I'm at this place. I want something different for me. I'm interested in embracing something else. Or I love a person that I trust who they are, and I recognize that these things bother them. So maybe there's some merit there. Like, everybody is on their own journey, but I do just think you should just be on, because if it's not your time to lean into this, everything gonna irritate you. And that's the thing too. Even on my side of it's not some people, like, I talk to some of my Black brothers and sisters when we're having these like conversations, they just want everybody to wake up. And it's like, okay, but some people can't handle what they're going to see if they wake up, like food desert is a real thing. Food desert is a real thing. But what are the people that don't have cars? Do you guys know what I mean when I'm saying the food desert, where grocery stores are strategically placed in and out of certain communities? There are certain communities.
I invested in a company to combat that. Yeah.
Okay, so you totally get it. So it's like, I don't want to go out there and fire up somebody, telling them, hey, you're not getting the freshest of fruits. You're not, et cetera, when they don't have the resources to get to the Kroger that does have the fresh fruits. It's like, on the one hand, do I get mad at them because, like, come on, why aren't you passionate about it? How's she going to get there if she gets passionate about it? Now she even more angry and more depressed, recognizing that it is a strategic setup against her success. So, and that's why we got to watch, like, on our partnerships and our business partnerships. I'm seeing a lot of creatives that are coming to their resolutions at different times. And so therefore it's putting a restraint on those partnerships and relationships and art. Because some people are like, man, this is right. We gotta go. We gotta run with this. We see it. And some people are like, yo, chill. Like, hold on, give me a minute, because I don't really fully understand what you're saying. So,
and that's the human nature of things, right? So, like, everyone's different, right? It might take me 5 minutes. It might take Tim 6 minutes. It might take you 4 minutes for whatever it is, right? And so that's very articulate and well said.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I felt myself falling victim to other people that it's just, hey, this is now part of our tagline, or we're going to throw it on our website, and then that automatically makes us diverse. And it's just, so I appreciate you sharing that insight.
It doesn't. I mean, you putting stuff like, just because people say, hey, I'm on this side, I'm in solidarity with this community, it does not mean that you do anything else. But it does mean that you don't have any problem with people feeling like you do. So that is a statement there in itself as well. And I think sometimes everybody has to understand, like, we all have to be cool with it is what it is. Like, I free my brothers and sisters that are not of the Black community to not have to march. I've never been to a march. I funded different things. I've done things, but personally, I haven't been to a march. And it don't make me no less of a Black person. Clearly, I already make somebody feel away because I got coffee named Black, please. They already like, well, what does that mean? Like, golly, it mean coffee, but why you mad? Anyway, so, I free my brothers and sisters from taking on that charge or responding in any sort of way. But I do say you got to be okay with how I feel about the way you respond. Like, how you respond, I want you to be honest. But then you got to respect that I then really in this season that I'm so sensitive and I'm a public speaker. I am a leader to my community. I'm at this point, I got a 12th grader. I have 11th grader and a second. I got kids about to go to college and I have influence. I have to become educated and see what's going on. That's part of my calling. So in this space, I can't necessarily hold on to the same relationships that I were holding on to before. If you're not in my community, but you ain't making me feel like you care that my community is bleeding out, we ain't be as cool as we used to be. And you have to respect that I'm not like, you're a terrible person because you don't have a window sticker. That's not what I'm saying. But you got to respect that I am saying right now, I can only be open and vulnerable with people that I feel like cry when I cry. And it's cool. Like we still might make money together. We still can do other things together because I'm not messing up my bag. But I shouldn't be made to feel bad that I don't want to be in a tight relationship with you if you want me at the same time to feel like you shouldn't be mad that you're not telling anybody you're in a relationship with me.
Directly involved within our entrepreneurial community for years. And the most common question I get is, Tim, I want to get involved, but I don't know what events I should attend. Well, StartWheel eliminates that pain point because we consolidate all the events you should attend into a single calendar. Now you'll be in the know and see where to spend your time. Gone is the need to search multiple websites and calendars. Just head to startwheel.org and see for yourself. That's startwheel.org.